You are listening to Radio Bilingüe on WBFO FM HD3 Buffalo, powered by Sin Fronteras Western New York and presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. More information at bataviadownsgaming.com. Sin Fronteras Western New York, Buffalo's media platform for Western New York Hispanics,
producing bicultural content that informs, entertains, and inspires the forward thinking.
Sin Fronteras Western New York, delivering bilingual stories,
hot topic conversations,
and the voices from our Latino community.
Sin Fronteras Western New York,
la única producción contemporánea en español
y en inglés en la ciudad de Buffalo. Sin Fronteras Western New York,
your connection to cultural ties in Latin America
and hyperlocal news in the Western New York area.
Sin Fronteras Western New York es para ti.
Hello and welcome to Generaciones con Sin Fronteras with Sheana VanDyne and
Dinorah Baines.
Yes, welcome. So we're here on 88.7 HD3 and we're going to go ahead and get started today with our special guest, Alicia Montalvo with Rejuvenex Spa. Alicia Montalvo was born and raised in Western New York. She is an entrepreneur in the health and beauty industry. She is the founder and owner of Rejuvenex Spa in Kenmore, New York. She has been a professional in the beauty industry for over a decade, striving to always bring quality, cutting-edge, and personalized services to clients, ultimately helping people to feel their best. Alicia fell in love with the health and beauty industry at 3 years old, given a doll that she endlessly beautified and made look better. She graduated from beauty school in 2008 and has continually pursued steps to making the desire and dream of owning a salon a reality. Alicia worked for some of the most luxurious salons and spas in the region. She has consequently been mentored by the owners of these establishments as well. As a young adult, Alicia was rewarded through exceeding a work quota by being sent to a very posh and luxurious spa. This pivotal exposure changed everything for Alicia and set in motion the desire to be an impactful owner of her own spa. Alicia's passion for continued education and betterment in health, beauty, and fitness has brought her much success. She wants each guest to genuinely enjoy the time spent with her in her business, leaving very renewed. Alicia is fulfilled by making the people of Buffalo feel their best through building a sense of community and providing a beautiful environment to relax, restore, and rebuild. Amazing. Welcome, yes. Alicia.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And that's just a little bit of background about Alicia, but there is so much more for us to talk about and so much more for our guests to learn about Alicia. And today we're just going to have a conversation about entrepreneurship and being a Latina entrepreneur, but also Alicia does have an interesting background. She's not only just an entrepreneur, she is a mother as well and a firefighter. Alicia, just give us some background about you and how you became an entrepreneur and where you're from.
Okay. Well, Alicia Montalvo. Hello. I born and raised here in Western New York. I come from a very small family, so my mother worked really hard, and that's all I really knew her to do. So I spent a lot of time as, a single child at times. My other siblings were all over the States, so I spent a lot of time alone. So dreaming and thinking and planning even as a young kid. So there was always something brewing inside of me. I also, growing up, I've had this desire to fight and, serve and protect our country to some degree. So just about 5 years ago, I got a chance to get that, off my heart too. So
that's awesome.
Being a local firefighter, been given the opportunity to serve and protect our community has been a blessing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what part of Buffalo did you grow up in?
West Side,
West
primarily.
Yeah.
But we did move around a lot. Yeah, we moved around a lot when I was younger. My mother got married. We got a chance to move to the burbs for a short period of time, and then which it was nice exposure. So it was good to become a little bit more diverse and connecting with different people.
Yeah.
So coming back to the city, throughout my teenage years was was definitely important to me.
Yeah.
I kind of begged for it, you know.
You're
kind
ready.
Of culturally, I was just a
Yeah.
little
And then,
confused.
yeah,
It's such
being
a time in your
surrounded.
life.
Yeah, as a teenager, so when did you move out to the suburbs?
To the suburbs, we moved. I was born in Dunkirk, New York, so I came to the city at 3, and then we came back into the city. I mean, well, my mom moved 4th grade. I ended up moving, and then I came back in 7th.
Yeah, that's
so teenage years.
Yeah, and it does make a difference to be in a. I grew up in the West Side too.
Okay.
So being in a neighborhood where there's people like you, look like you, speak like you, and people wonder, because Spanish was my first language, and later on in life in the professional world, they hear me and then they say, "Oh, well, where are you from?" I'm like, from here. No, but you have an accent. I'm from here. I was born here. It's just you're surrounded by people who also speak Spanish. You go to the store and they speak Spanish. And even there was a Chinese restaurant. They spoke Spanish. And they even had tostones in their menus.
I know the place you're talking about.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So what schools, what high school did you go to?
So, we'll just put it on the table, right? So I attended school 3. I went to school 77. And then I transferred to school 3. I wasn't much academically inclined back then. And then again, like I said, being home a lot and my mom working really hard, I kind of became a stray, And so with that being said, I'll say I didn't see a day of 8th grade. So I never made it to high school.
So do you have your GED?
We're just being transparent here, huh?
Yeah, that's what this is for. Do you have your GED, or
I ended up, so after my kids and stuff, I was able to get my COS license with an ATB exam. So it's just like an entry level math exam that I had to take. So I was able to go to Leon School of Hair Design.
Yeah.
Then when I was 30, and I'm the mother of 2 kids, I said, you know what, it's important that if I want to push education on them, for me to get my GED and at least have that under my belt, and just trying to figure out the work world too. Like, what is it that I really want to be doing, even though cosmetology has, been a dream of mine. So I got my GED when I was 30.
Congrats. That is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And then I attended 2 semesters of college and then realized, school is not for me.
And that's very brave of you. I think more now, even, this current generation is really seeing that maybe secondary education or college is not for me.
Yeah.
So they're pushing towards the trade. So for you to recognize that and kind of set yourself apart than probably what you saw or people try to push on you, and really dedicate yourself towards something that you love, I see that as a strength. You know what I mean? And I actually work in workforce development. Yeah, of course. So I always tell people, it's not, the degree isn't everything. It's honestly like and I see you here, your soft skills, the connections that you make with people, and then the certificates that you get. There's plenty of certificates out there that, not everyone can afford that typical 4-year or even 2-year degree. You get a nice certificate, you work towards that, you get the experience in what you did, and look at you owning your own place in the suburbs. Your place is in Kenmore. So you broke lots of barriers. That's awesome.
I will say, if I didn't take that step to getting my GED, I didn't realize how important that was.
Yeah.
So if not going to college was important to me, I was necessary. I wouldn't have been able to become a firefighter. I wouldn't have been able to get my SBA loan when I was, gearing to open my spa. Those were requirements. So having a high school diploma or an equivalency was necessary. So it was like the perfect setup for me to start building, my dreams. And I didn't realize how important it was. So education is still important.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But if you have something that you're passionate about and it doesn't necessarily require a degree, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
As long as
Having
you
a
take pride in
plan
doing
and
it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I did not know that was a barrier to getting a small business loan and being part of those programs as a high school education or equivalency. So that's good to know.
I remember losing I was like, oh my God, where is it? Where did I put it? I hadn't seen it in a few years. So I was like, and I was like, yeah, this was where it started. This was one of those. Getting my GED was probably one of those things that, okay, I did this and I did this for me.
Yeah.
And it can take me a little further. I didn't realize it was going to expand so many horizons for me, but it did. Something as little as a GED, who some people would say is just, not necessarily
that's true.
important to so many.
Even for civil service jobs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do try to get into civil service, and especially for the county and the state, and there's so many benefits to it with the retirement and the health insurance, and you just need a GED. You don't need to be the top of your class. Right. You don't need to have a degree from Harvard.
You don't have to have an associate's or a bachelor's or anything. Yeah, you just have to have your high school diploma or then, like I said, equivalency, GED.
Wow. So who was a role model or someone that you looked up to growing up?
Well, like I said, my mom worked really hard, so I have to give her all the credit. I mean, I saw her. She landed her job. She bounced around a lot when we were younger, but once she started working at New Era Cap, she was hired by like the main cook who opened the headquarters out in Angola. So when she got that job, it was piecework, so she could work as much as she wanted. She was a top stitcher, and she was proud of it. You know, she could provide for us, and that's what she did for almost 17 years. Yeah, so it was that changed her. And I remember watching her wake up 5 a.m. She's sitting on her bed and she's putting on her makeup and to drive all the way to Orchard Park. I mean, well, no, this is Angola, so even further out, you know, to get to work on time. And so I would say she's definitely the person where I get my work ethic and my drive from. Yeah. And wanting to provide, because I know it wasn't easy for her. You know, there was 3 of us at times, but even just for me back then, it was a lot.
Yeah, sounds like she had a lot of discipline, which is hard to, I feel like that's hard to teach. It has to be modeled. Right. And now, did she come from Buffalo, or what's a little bit of her story?
My mother was born in Puerto Rico, in Ponce, and she's one of 9 children. So she ended up coming here right before the last one was born. There's 9, and then her mother passed away. So there was 9 children kind of left to their dad, and they all ended up getting adopted outside of the family and moving here and there. But I don't know my mom's. I don't know my life without my mom's original family. So they were all united at some point. By the time she was 23, she had met all of her original family members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So her sisters and brothers and everybody had become united at that point.
That's nice. Have you gone back to Ponce?
I've had the chance to go to Puerto Rico 3 times, actually. Yeah, so it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm happy I got that opportunity too. And I would do it over and over again.
So we, you know,
I want to say you guys,
how it is.
You do have both have cute little nose. Yeah.
She had how many? 11 or 12? I don't know. 12, 11 brothers and sisters.
Yeah, family was big. You know, and they just
the women
produced.
just had home,
did what they
babies.
had to do.
And they were young doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she came here. Well, actually, she came to Atlantic City. But it could be. We gotta find out.
I know you guys gotta do a little test. But you're right when it comes to you know, the Puerto Rico traditions and, you know, and what starting a family and how old you were when you started a family and got married. I do find that's a big difference from coming to the States. I know my grandma always talked about how she had her first son at 13, and I can't even imagine my son's gonna be 13 and like the maturity and just, you know, thinking of him starting a family be worlds of a difference. But I think that, you know, at an early age, having to grow up did bring on that discipline that you're talking about that your mom brought here and was able to be successful.
I agree.
So what aspects of your culture or heritage are you most proud of, and how do they show up in your daily life, do you find?
I will say probably the affection, you know, like coming, you know, from an Hispanic background, it's hugs and kisses and it's love. And I mean, how many people do you have to kiss when you go to Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday? You know, so I will say that is something that I use day to day. You know, I greet people with hugs. You know, always, you know, touching and just being very in tune, you know, not just hearing them, but feeling them too, you know.
And that probably works well in the spa, you know, industry. How have you had people kind of turned off by that? Like, whoa, you're too, I don't know, you're too nice, or you hugging too much.
I've heard that I'm too nice, but I think with now my age and being in the industry so long, you can read the room. You can kind of tell when somebody's like gearing to, you know, be, you know, hugged or just, you know, kind of wants to be left alone. Yeah. But if you're coming to a spot, typically you want to be, you know, catered to and in touch. So it's even on the department, they're not complaining if I'm giving them a hug. So you know, it's just so that's what I will say is probably something that I
tell us about going into cosmetology, just the start of it.
It was on my heart. Like I had to, I was the girl who everybody would come to my house and, you know, right here on Jersey Avenue, they would stop by before they were going to Grover. Even if I wasn't going, they were going, and I'd give them the cat eye, and I was always doing makeup or hair. And straightening hair, ironing our hair on the
With the
plancha, with the real plancha. I can't even tell you how many coffee tables I destroyed with my mother.
Oh my goodness.
She was gonna kill me and my sister at times. But yeah, so I was always into like just making something look even better, you know. So I did take an exam when I moved to New York. I did move to New York when I was 17 to follow that dream, right? I always felt like I needed to be a part of a bigger city. So I went there and I attempted going to beauty school. I took that same ATB exam there and failed it. So it was, so I just worked and did that. But then when I came back after I had my son, I was a little bit more focused, and that's when I was able to get into beauty school.
And what school did you decide to go to?
I went to Leon School of Hair Design right here in Williamsville.
Yeah.
I used to go there to get the, like, when the students were available, to get the, like, cheaper haircuts. Yeah. That was my spot.
So I don't, while there may be Latinas in cosmetology, we see that, but owners, owners of their own salon, but you're in the spa industry, I don't think are you the only Latina in our region?
I'm not the only Latina that's in the spa industry.
Well, that's the owner of
owner of a. Wow, that might be true.
That might be some research. And what services, like, what is?
If not now, maybe by now, maybe some other Latinas have opened, larger environments. You know. But I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think because I remember we got gift cards to Rejuvenate Spa, and me and my husband, we were specific, where we spent our money, and like, let's go to a spa, and then we saw, this was before I even met you, and we saw it was you. I was like, easy, this place. Yeah. But so tell us about. So you did cosmetology, but ended up opening a spa, and you have experience working at other spas before you opened up your one. Yeah. Tell us about that experience.
Okay, so one of my mentors had said, like, out of beauty school, go to the best place in town. So at that point, it was Capello Salon and Day Spa. So the mothership is on Main Street in Williamsville. I walked in there, and I did exactly what my mentor at the time, his name was Gabi Gonin. I worked for him in New York, and he said, you got to walk in there with your hair just like that. My hair was all out and crazy. And I did exactly that and tell him, you work for them for free. He had this whole thing. I didn't have to do all of that, but I did walk in, and I asked to speak to the owner, and he hired me on the spot.
Wow.
So I did a lot of hair back then. That was my niche. Like, I did, updos and bridal. I was a bridal consultant, bridal specialist for 5 years there. Hair, makeup, nails. And then I used nails as a way to meet clients, for me to build my clientele in hair. And that just came naturally to me. So I'm not sure how I fell out of doing hair and just doing more so nails, manis, pedis. But that's how I ended up with Rejuvenex, being more so primarily like natural nail care spa.
Is there a reason why he asked you to go like that with your hair all out? Like,
he's very, I think he just had this idea of me being beautiful that way. Okay. So like and being in the beauty industry, he just wanted me to be able to display myself, my true self naturally, and thought that would work for me.
And have that confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Don't put your hair in a ponytail. Don't be, ashamed of your big, beautiful hair. Just go out into the world and, be yourself.
I think that's great advice, because I think as Latinas especially, we get told the opposite.
Right.
So, like you were with the plancha, like I've been straightening my hair since I was like 11 years old. Right. So I think, embracing your curls and walking in and setting yourself apart and being like, maybe if there's clients that you can't handle, I'm going to come in here and I can really make sure that, I have
something to offer.
Yes. And you can, handle a diverse set of hair, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So then after your time there, where did you go?
After my time there, I ended up working at Shazon. I was there for a short period of time. I worked on Delaware Avenue. That was a really nice experience too. I did a lot more hair there. I was still able to do nails. And then from there, I ended up working at a place called Safety First, which is right on Delaware Avenue. Yes. It's Vietnamese owned. Okay. And when we call her the General, we meant it, But that's kind of when I'll say I started taking working a lot more serious. So my kids were young, so if I had to stay home with them because they were sick, I would always take that opportunity. This was more like cracking the whip. Nope, you have to come to work. Even if your kids are sick, you have to get their dad to watch them. You have to, so she was very, but I was making enough money to then pay off my bills and fix my credit. And it was all set up, I feel like, perfectly for me to get to, Rejuvenex. So I was there for 3 years at the Vietnamese nail salon, and I learned a lot. I learned how to work hard. I mean, at points she had me working 7 days a week, open to close.
Oh, wow.
And I learned how to run business and probably how not to run business being there as much as I was. So I knew how I wanted my place to feel once it did, come to life. And I knew how I didn't want it to feel. So it was good. It was a good experience.
And that makes sense because, owning a business, it is like your baby. So if you're working at a place where they're pushing you, like where your dependability has to be really high. And so you're probably thinking while you're sitting there, I can do this.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like, why
you're
am
working
I
there that much? Right. That's exactly the thought process. And I would always call it the test of the greater blessing, because she was so hard on me. But I don't take that for granted. Like, I actually appreciate her for being able to be that way. I'm like, man, if my mom was around, this is probably how she'd be pushing me to get to my goals, So it's just happened a different way, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that must have been scary to just open up. So after Safety First, that's when you were like, okay, I'm going to open up my own
While I was working at Safety First. So I did, I began my whole little journey. I was doing some figure competing, so I was working out a lot, and I was getting myself in
figure.
So bodybuilding, bodybuilding.
Nice.
Yeah, low-key bodybuilding. I did 2 shows. It wasn't much, but it was probably the best time of my life. It was a 21-week prep, and I devoted myself to my business plan and just working on myself physically, internally, mentally, and it worked. I was clear-minded just with the diet alone, a lot of water, and it was a time for me to start writing, and everything I put on paper came to life, And then I had that ability too to, like, I'm signing on lines that I had no idea what was going on. I was just, yep, I want it like this. It was just pouring out of me at that point with the design of the spa, and then all the right people started showing up too. So I have to give them all the credit too. Like, there was a lot of people, if I needed it, bylaws for my business, I had an attorney sit in my chair that day. If I needed, construction, I had a woman who was in construction, somebody who knew about the SBA. She actually delivered it to Evans Bank. It was so many people. It's truly like, when the teacher shows up, the student's ready to listen.
Yeah.
That was my experience in that moment. So I couldn't deny that this had to happen. So there was a lot of time I spent on my knees hoping and praying that it would come true. And, it's not like they're just handing you an SBA. There were a lot of things that I had to go through, documents that I had to find. And so it wasn't easy, but I'm happy that, that it all came to life.
So what are some of the resources that you used that helped you with the business plan and all these forms that you're talking about for people who may be interested and unsure about that whole process?
So I was led in the direction of SCORE initially, which is entrepreneurs who are previously owned their businesses, and then they give you just the guidance, to how to start yours. And then I ended up going to Buff State to their small business educational center, and was given the format for a business plan, like how to go about it, and that's what I kind of ran with. I didn't listen to Pac. And I'll never forget his name. His name was Mac Patty. Okay, and I was like, okay, and he's telling me, well, you got to find a previously owned spot, and you have to do it like this, and you have to do it. I walked out of there like, yeah, no, Pat, that's not how it's going. So, that's funny. Yes. So I already had dreamed it to be bigger than I think what anybody else could for me. I had cousins of mine that were saying, girl, you need to start, got to start smaller. Like, what do you mean? Like, you got to, you don't need to go that big. And it spiraled out of control. Yeah, so it got bigger and bigger. And
how was it getting loans from the bank?
That was the SBA portion. That's why I said it was vigorous. Like, it was, I had a loan officer. I mean, they spent that money for me too. So it wasn't like they hand you the money, they give you a check and they go open your business. No, it was very structured. It was very designed for success, so everything down to the business plan. I had 3-year projections, in place. Like, that's what they required to be able to get the loan. That's so it was a very detailed plan, that actually worked, which is a blessing.
So there's a lot of, we're in need in this area of more brown and black businesses, especially from, our younger entrepreneurs and, anyone.
I feel like it is exploding, though.
It is. Yeah, I was going to say, what advice would you give? Like, let's say your daughter wanted to open up a business tomorrow. What would be your very first piece of advice?
First, have a plan and have a detailed plan. Yeah, and just, ask for advice, and don't hesitate to, you don't know it all at this point, so you do have to explore your options and And I would say just having a really good solid plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And what services, look at me, I'm like going to book my appointment because your skin is amazing. She has, everyone, you cannot see her. We're on the radio, but she has 0 pores. So I'm going to make an appointment after this. So what services does Rejuvenex offer?
Okay, so our bread and butter, I'll say, is manicures and pedicures. So it's all natural nail care, but we do facials, so skin care, massage therapy, hydrofacials. That's another big thing that we're doing now. It's a little bit more in tune with cleaning out the pores and then replenishing them with what you do need so that your skin can look beautiful, and shine.
I'm going to want that.
I love manis and pedis. You said natural.
Yeah, so what we don't do acrylic. So I think that's what kind of separates our spa from a lot of other places that do nails. There's no toxins or chemical. It's chemical-free environment. Yeah. And I was actually going to do hair there, but even that part of the chemical aspect, with dyeing and highlights and things like that, it's just a very clean, environment.
I just started because I love pedicures. I don't get my nails done all the time, but pedicures I love, especially for the massage. Yes. But I was getting gel for a long time, but my nails are so brittle. I just now started, they told me about some other nail polish that's like good, chemical-free, I don't know, Dazzle or something. But
Dazzle Dry is a good polish,
So I just now switched. So hopefully by next summer, I got some strong toners because they tend to break off my nails.
The gel polish, it can do some damage to toes, yes, especially because we're not aware of, they're covered up, they're, so it's, and some people tend to keep it on too long. So
that's
probably my issue. So it sounds like in your mission, like being a chemical-free spa and toxic-free is important to you. So tell us why that was a big decision for you to make.
I feel like with even working at the Vietnamese nail salon, I learned a lot of that there too, because the exhaust and everything else. But it was using those kind of chemicals, and now I know even more so with being a firefighter and all the toxins that we're exposed to. But you can avoid a lot of health issues, and just with all of the acrylic and stuff, it's like painting bridges. It almost can take like 10 years off your life when you're constantly inhaling. And then it's not only just going through, you're inhaling it, it's going through your eyes, your skin. There's a lot of ways to absorb, those toxins. So if you can try your best to stay away from them, it's better.
Oh, I did not know that. And speaking of, this is a great segue. So you mentioned just a minute ago that you're a firefighter.
I am.
Like how, like tell me about that, because I'm seeing, I know you're a mom and you own your own. How do you find time to not only be an entrepreneur, but also serve the public in that capacity? I mean, that's a pretty, besides breaking the barrier of being a woman, I mean, obviously cosmetology and firefighter, I couldn't think of any more opposite roles.
Yeah. Right. And it fits my personality, I will say, because I am, as much as I do like girly girl stuff and beautiful things, I am busybody and energetic, and I do like to get dirty and gritty, and it's so it fits me perfectly. If you know me well enough, you'll understand that. But I'll say it was the test came, and after, like I said, with the spa being opened and then the figure competing, and even back to my GED, once I set goals and I knew I was capable of conquering them, I didn't turn down any opportunity that was put in front of me. So when the test came, it was somebody who I trusted who mentioned it to me, and she looked at me, she said, "You would make a great firefighter. I think you should definitely take the test." And she also added, she said, "There's not many Latinas that can pass the exam. They have a hard time with the psyche veil." I'm hoping she was joking at that point, but come to think of it, I'm only one of 2 full-blooded Latinas on the department out of 50 some odd women. Yeah, 750 firefighters, 50 some odd. I want to say maybe 52 at this point. Yeah. But only 2 of us are fully
What is
Latina.
it about the psyche veil? I want to know what kind of questions are they asking?
It could have been, just,
personality.
Buffalo still being very, segregated too. Yeah.
That's true. And just, not being, like, you had someone come up to you and say, you would be a great fit.
Yeah.
I've lived, I'm not going to tell my age, but I've lived a little while, and I've never had anyone come up to me and be like, "You'd be a great firefighter." Yeah. Right. So you had like a very, you had someone that breathed life into you. It sounded like, and it was very encouraging.
And she said that I should take the exam, and she told me study, 45 minutes a day. I left the spa that day after giving her a pedicure, and I went to Barnes and Nobles and I got this, study guide, and I did exactly that. So like I said, it's back to just when people do, like you say, breathe life into you and believe in you, and it's something that you feel like you want to conquer, just do it, and listen.
Yeah.
Keep your ears open, because people do have, there's signs and everything,
Did you feel a responsibility, like after she mentioned, how there isn't many Latinas?
Maybe subconsciously I did. Yeah, maybe so. I knew it was something from back when I was a child. Like even being a kid, I'm 41. So me sitting in front of the TV during, Desert Storm and watching, people, the men and women here go to war. I was always just kind of just taken back, like, wow, what a hero. You know what I mean? Like, how amazing is that you fight for your country, So I feel like maybe that kind of all just, I was like, it's time. If I can do something for, my community outside of just making their toes look great, like, why not?
How was the, because there's a physical part of the exam.
Yes. The agility test is definitely something that you have to train for. Even men. I mean, if you're out of shape, it's not easy. So it's hard. But like I said, with the figure competing, I was already active enough to where I was strong enough to get through that portion of the exam. Yeah.
And in your, so are you usually around a lot of men, or is there now starting to be
I still am the only woman in my house, well, on my platoon. So there is one other female that works at Engine 38, which is on Linden and Colvin here in Buffalo. But yeah, we're there. There's lieutenants now. There's female chiefs. So it's slowly but surely becoming, more well-rounded when it comes to,
Do they ask you to cook Puerto Rican food?
And that's it. I never knew that pastelillos would be a delicacy, but it is in the firehouse. It's, I think that's one of the nice things I get to bring to the table too is, they get different,
Yes. So do you
diversity.
share your culture? How is that sharing your culture with your
It's fun.
teammates?
Yeah, it is fun. It's, they see me and they think rice, so it's like I get to make a nice pot of rice.
Have there been some
Are you
where
making those
this was
fried,
the
are you
first
making
time?
those fried bananas again?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you want me tostones?
Yeah,
You got that. I
It
got
could be
you.
plantains or tostones, yeah. So has there been like people who this is the first time they've had Puerto Rican food?
I don't know if maybe the first time, I can't recall. I know one of my chiefs, when he walked into the kitchen, he was like, oh, that's that yellow rice. Yes, I love that rice. You don't hear him express himself much at all. So I was like, it was a nice feeling.
So you knew, how to reach his heart or stomach.
But there's probably enough of us here. I remember I was living in Albany, and I didn't see a lot of. There was definitely no Puerto Rican restaurants, but I didn't see a lot of other Puerto Ricans there. I did see other Hispanics, so I think there was Dominicans and people from South America. And I remember my coworkers asking, we talked about potlucks, bringing food and stuff. And I think I said I was bringing something. And they were like, oh, is it spicy? And if you know Puerto Rican food, it's just savory, flavorful.
It's very rarely spicy,
but more on the sodium side.
Yeah.
Salty.
But they think of like Mexican food, so that's what they're familiar with over there.
That's what you just gotta educate them.
Yeah. And I brought in pastelillos, and they loved it. But over here in Buffalo, I think there's enough of us for people to be familiar with Puerto Rican food.
And be introduced to it.
Right.
But speaking of food, so you talked about you were in bodybuilding women competition.
Figure,
Yeah. So what introduced you to that, going back a bit?
I kind of always go back to my childhood. I know that sounds funny, but it's something that I would watch as a kid. And my mom would walk in the house and she'd be like, what the heck are you watching? A guy flexing a Speedo. It's almost like soft porn to an 8-year-old,
Yeah.
So turn that off. But just strength. I think I was always looking at it as strong, so, and it was amazing to me. Arnold Schwarzenegger, all of those, big guys back then. But once I started seeing females do it, and I was a part of a local, because I was going to the gym a lot.
Okay.
So seeing it locally, I was like, I could do this, So I just, it's like putting something on your bucket list and knocking it down, and just
And I'm sure you couldn't eat the rice and
So
the
that
pastelillo.
was-
So
that
what
was
did you eat,
difficult.
girl?
I couldn't be a parent for 21 weeks because
Oh,
having to
my
make mac
goodness.
and cheese, they were so much younger back then. I was like, no, mm-mm. So, and I feel like it was my little hiatus too, but with the food, it was very strict. I macro dieted, so it was, numbers that I was hitting a certain percentage of fats, complex carbs and protein. Like it was, but it helped, like I said, again, develop that discipline that I needed to move on with life and the other things that I, was
But
brought
were
on to
you
do.
able to incorporate some of the seasonings, and spices?
All natural, yeah. But you're sodium free, no sugar, no high fructose. So yeah, there was no. So there was no rice eating. A lot of jasmine rice. Yeah, no
I
sazon.
love jasmine.
That's all I use anyway is jasmine rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a steam cooker and some, baked chicken.
That was it.
Broccoli. That was it. I could get a little creative because it was macro dieting, so it was just numbers that I was hitting. But it was good. It was a nice experience.
How even that in that field? Do you see a lot of Latinas in that and locally?
Not locally. Yeah, no, I don't. Mm-mm.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah.
See.
I think it's Buffalo still being such a small city. It's big, but it's small at the same time. It's just it takes a little bit of time for us to get exposed to things.
Yeah, so I was gonna say opportunity and exposure.
Yeah. But I could see it happening.
Do you find yourself that, because it seems like a lot of the spaces you've been in, you've either been one of very few or the only one. Do you feel that you then hold back your culture or showing like that part of you because of that, or are you just more just proud everybody?
Do you feel like you have to assimilate? Yeah.
I feel like I'm just proud in general. Now I can actually say I don't talk about myself much. Even at the spa, like it took me forever to own up to being the owner. I'm sitting there working with staff, and it's just, so I think I'm just proud in general to have opportunities, and my last name's Montalvo, so people just assume it, and I correct them in the spelling of the pronunciation. It's Alicia, not Alicia, But other than that, I feel like I think I wear it well. Yeah. Especially at this point in my life, I don't hide the fact that I'm Latina
Do you, as a firefighter, let's say you go to a home, and do you speak Spanish?
I don't speak fluent Spanish. No.
You go to a home and it's a Hispanic family and they're in, obviously distressed. Do you feel that may then seeing someone like,
I've been in moments like that, yes. And even with people that watched me grow up, because we do a lot of EMS calls.
Oh, okay.
So there has been women who have, obviously then they start talking to me in Spanish and I can get by, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that, they do lighten up. They, they feel better. They'll hold my hand, instead of the guys. And so there are moments like that happen for sure. Yeah.
And even if it's a few times, it still shows how important it is to have representation.
Truthfully, yeah.
And so there was an incident in my home it was in the backyard, railroad track. So I know my house was safe, but there's 2 fire trucks that came. And I started seeing them. They were going in our backyard, and then I see her come out. I didn't know her at this time.
Oh, okay.
And I'm at my door, and I'm looking outside, and then I'm on the phone with my husband, and then I see her. I was like, oh, I think there's a woman. There was a woman, but I don't think it was a woman. But then I saw her, and I was like, oh, I think there's a Latina firefighter. She's outside.
It's probably like for us, like
story,
seeing a superhero. Because I know, like for me, because we don't see many representation. Like when I first saw like even Princess Jasmine or like Pocahontas, even though they're not Latina, but I can identify with them.
Right.
I was like, oh. So it's probably like how you felt about Alicia. Like, oh my God, my childhood dreams came true. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it is nice at the grocery stores and stuff because we shop a lot. And when I'm in uniform, the little girls, they just, they look at you like, oh, wow, Just yesterday, if I could share this with you ladies real quick, there was a woman who I'd say, an older woman, real sweet, but she stopped me to say, she says, I just want you to know you paved the way for so many women. And I was like, really? Thank you for saying that. And she says, because when I was young, this wouldn't have been an opportunity that I could take on, like it wouldn't have been even an option. Yeah. So with that, and then, so little Latina girls walking by you and they're just like, wow, so it's nice to have that kind of, impact.
Yeah, you're opening doors, but then also make them realize, because when you're little, you think about, oh, what you want to be when you grow up. And then they see you, and then it's like, oh, that's also an option. And even for some girls who they may not like, because we also, when it comes to little girls, we say, oh, be a teacher or a nurse, something that's nurturing and with children.
Right.
But that's not for all little girls, you know. So then they see you, and this is a different. Well, you have both. You know, you're in the beauty field, but then you're also a firefighter, and you can actually visually see it because you have the uniform. So they see that and they're like, oh, well, this is an entire different, you know, career path that I have an option. These are so many other options that I have. So I think, and that's the reason why we wanted you on, because you're so multifaceted, you know. You're in the beauty industry, you're a business owner, you're also a firefighter, but I think it's your history when it comes to education. I think that's also important. And it also, because there are, like Sheana was saying, there were people that, you know, going into higher education may not be for you, but then there's also people in our community that think, you know, I'm not doing that well in high school. I don't need it. You know, I don't need to graduate. I could figure it out. Right. But you deciding to go back and how that opened doors, I think that's also very emotional and motivational and inspiring.
And it was really emotional too, don't you?
I'm sure.
Yeah. It wasn't easy, you know, being an adult and, you know, learning now and then not even seeing high school. So it was challenging, but if you want something, you're going to get it. You know, you just work really hard towards it. That's all.
And it is hard. Like, people want things quick and easy, or they give up when things get too hard. But it is hard, but anything good is worth fighting for.
Absolutely. Well said.
And you, I mean, that's good that Dinorah said that, because when I'm thinking of all these roles that you have in your life and all these goals that you've accomplished, I keep on thinking of course, humility. You seem like a very humble person, and also like disciplined. And that's something I try to get through with my kids, is like, and even myself, I'm like, and there's a quote that I have it like written on my wall, and it's discipline equals freedom. Right. What do you think about that? Because you've done so many. Do you feel like that rings true?
Yeah, absolutely. And just having a routine, you know, and waking up every day, and just knowing what's best for you and doing it is important. Yeah, no, that was powerful. Yeah, it is freedom.
How do you balance it?
I do my best. Yeah, I just do my best, you know, and like I said, having a plan, you know. Not having a plan is planning to fail. That's what I heard a long time ago. So just trying to plan it out and just put your best foot forward every day, you know, trying to be as structured as you possibly can.
Do you find yourself, because you have just 2 kids, right?
I have 2, yeah.
Okay. And you won't see, but she does have one of her daughters here with us. So how old are your kids?
My daughter is 15 going on 16. This is Avea. And then my son is going to be 21 in January.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was a young mom. I had him at 19. Yeah. That was probably one of the most emotional things. Like, I was like, I was your age when I had you, like when he turned 20. Yeah. So,
do you find yourself not accepting anything but excellence from your kids because of all the stuff that you've accomplished and worked hard for, and like, no, you know, I worked hard for this. You have no excuse.
So I've really always been honest with my kids, and so has their dad. Their dad and I grew up together. It was that West Side Story, like we talked about earlier. You know, you know, boy meets girl, girl meets boy. You guys get married and have kids. Like we never got married, but that's what we did. You know, I played wifey for a long time. So he's been honest with them. He probably even a little too honest with them. So they know I've made a lot of mistakes. So it's not right for me to expect them not to, but. I do want them to just do their best, and you know, we're always going to set you up for success. If you fall short, there's always going to be another way, you know, around it. But at some point, you just got to focus and do what you got to do so that your life can be as grand as you want it to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you? How has it been passing down your culture?
Culturally, so just a few of our, like, you know, things that we did on a regular basis. My mom passed away back in 2012. So no, it's okay. So I think with me just working a lot, bringing back, you know, and implementing some of those things that we did every year, you know, traditions, excuse me, is going to be something that I have to go back on for sure. Yeah, but she loves the food. She loves the music. You know, the dancing, and when we do gather with the family, so they see it.
I know that's something. I don't have kids yet, but it's definitely something I hope that I can pass down the culture. I definitely want to pass down the language, but we'll see.
Right. I know it gets difficult. Yeah, but it's, of course it's possible. You know, you just gotta just speak Spanish. Especially when they're like 1 and 2 and
that's the important part. Like even with me, both my sister and my brother are both fluent, but they're older than I. So like by the time my mom had started working at Nuera and her friends were different, she's in a different circle, she didn't have to speak much English at home. I mean Spanish, excuse me, at home. So that's where I kind of fell short. And it's with her, she she tries to pick up as much as she can, with the music and everything else, but I could do a better job, implementing it too.
But I think we're seeing that a lot in the next generation about the language, but the language not being the sole, like, about your culture, like the most important thing.
Right.
And it's everything else, because we have the next generation who may not speak Spanish or as fluent Spanish as maybe our parents did, but they still want to connect to the culture and they still identify.
Right.
With
very much so. It's like a whole aesthetic, like Latina
It
makeup
is.
and no sabo teenager, and Latina.
Reggaeton, these girls,
It's almost a whole subculture from the like you're saying, from the original culture, which is, I think it's beautiful.
I have nieces who don't speak Spanish and don't even understand it entirely, but they can sing you a whole Daddy Yankee song.
Oh, I'm sure.
But probably better than Daddy Yankee.
Yeah.
But, so they're proud. Know, so. Like you said, the language does not define
your culture
as who you are.
And I think but this is the reason why we have this show, and this is the reason why we're speaking English. We may have somebody on that will speak Spanish, but there are things that connect with us in our culture, and we want to highlight Latinas, but they don't always have to speak English Spanish, and just because it's in Spanish doesn't mean we automatically connect with it.
Yeah,
exactly. And being a mom, do you feel like that pushed you even more towards your goals?
Yes, because you go through some years, especially when they're younger, you can't work as much, so you're going without, and I just knew I wanted more for me. I knew I wanted a better future for them, so it was time to just kind of get things in gear and start, just
crossing things off those lists, as you say.
Yes,
I felt
exactly.
that too. Yeah, when I started having my kids, I was like, well, if I want them to do this, like, for example, have their high school equivalency or high school degree, then I should go out and try, you know what I mean, to get that, because then I'm just going to be one of those people that are saying to do something and not showing them that it can be done.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think you're a great example. Is your daughter or son going to take over your business one day?
It's funny because they both argued about that when they were a little younger. I'm taking over the business. I can see her, definitely. Yeah, my son's more into the music scene right now, which that could change. But I think she's got the entrepreneurial spirit.
They're not interested in being firefighters.
No, she hasn't expressed it at all, and I've pushed it on. Not push it, but like it's such a nice option for a young man because he's 29, he could retire by the time he's 40. So it would be a nice option for him, and then the pension and all of that. But you gotta let them follow their own dreams,
But it's just great that now you've changed those small steps that you took individually, which together there's huge. But you changed your whole history of the next
trajectory.
generation.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
And now they can even say, even that argument in itself of who's going to take over mom's business, that in itself is, you don't hear that, especially, Latinas of their kids arguing who's going to take over the business, especially Latinas here in Buffalo.
Yes.
Right.
You don't hear that.
That's the definition of that, creating that generational wealth.
Right.
Because they're going to have those streams of income that started from you.
Right.
So to open those doors. So are you open to, or have you ever talked to like a wider set of the community kind of, I know you're starting here with the radio station, but, like other community members about.
I have. This is probably the third time that I've been on a platform. There was Happy Girls Rock when I was doing the figure competing. There was a woman who was running that, and it was a luncheon. It was beautiful. It was and I got to sit on a platform, and having an audience was different for me. Yeah. So I was a little nervous. But then even with Crystal Rodriguez, who was a friend of mine, but she was my business attorney too at the time. We've always just built each other up in business. I went on one of her shows. You know, she had what is it called? Manifesting.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. So repeat, you know, whatever it is. I forget exactly. But she helped me open up to being able to speak and do some things too publicly. But I think it's just the young girls that are watching me, you know, do what I'm doing. I don't have to necessarily even like talk about it or, you know, promote it. They're seeing it. It's like real life, you know. They come to the spa, they see it happening there. I'm at, like I said, Wegmans, or, you know, they know I'm a firefighter, and it's just, you know, they get to just see what I'm doing, and
But I think it's even Crystal, connecting with Crystal and her helping you with the business, and then also us connecting. I think it's beautiful, us finding each other. Yeah. And just supporting
with a little
each
brush
other.
fire in your backyard.
Yeah. But then we always had different weird, not weird, but like encounters. So first it was, I saw of her because we were looking for a spa, a gift certificate. So I saw her bio and I saw her photo, and then she was at my house as a firefighter, and then I officially met her. My next door neighbor had an event. Yes. And she knew her, Alicia. Oh my goodness.
It's our girl Christy Pottle having a paella party in her backyard. That's so funny.
And so then I met her there. Yeah, it's her annual thing. And then I was like, oh, I know who we should have on this show. This dynamic, just
I know Dinorah's probably like, are you real? Because like I don't know if I saw someone, you know, like doing nails and owning a salon and spa, and then coming to my house, I'd be like, I don't know what's going on.
Do you have a twin sister?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. How are you here, and here?
Like, reminds me of the movie Forrest Gump. I don't know why. Because, like, Jack of all trades, you know, like, he's always in, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, every few years he switches it up.
Like, all of a sudden he wins, like, the ping pong champion. And then he's over here, like, playing football. Like, I feel like that's Alicia.
And then he's running,
So what's next?
You know, right now I think I'm just going to rest in what I have at the moment until the possibilities of expansion come about, and I'm entertaining the idea of that. But yeah, I like flowers now all of a sudden, and gardening. So I bought a piece of property that has some commercial space in it. So I'm working with a girl who does massages out of that right now. So I'm thinking maybe another portion of the house could be like a little floral shop. But for fun, nothing that's, I don't want to like make it bigger than what it is. I'm already spread thin, you know. And with that, I'll say, yes, having a lot on your plate. I always wanted to eat, so I'm not complaining. But just pacing myself now, especially, you know, at my age and with the things that I've experienced, it's just, I know my time and my privacy is important. You know what I mean?
Just taking one day at a time right now, and just,
Is that
enjoying
hard?
enjoying what you have. You know? So instead of always, and always moving, you know, to the next thing. So right now I'm in that rest phase where I'm just going to be still, and I, you know, obviously still you know, have dreams and ideas, but take my time.
Staying still, is that going to be hard for you?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say you're very ambitious.
Yeah. And, you know, my friends say the same thing. So what's next? And I'm just like, I think right now, I can be still. Yeah. And entertain maybe the opportunity, you know, the option of love, or, you know, something, you know, companionship. And because when you're busy, especially, you know, as a mom, it's hard to, you know, to meet people to connect with. Yeah. So.
No, I agree with the staying still. There was a time where just too involved, as sometimes as a Latina, people reach out to you because as a Latina who's doing well for themselves, people want you at the table for representation. Exactly, but then then now you're at too many board meetings,
too many tables,
too many tables, and it's like, okay.
And I felt terrible, Taryn, with the
Latinos Evolving?
Yes, exactly. I would have loved to take part in a few of those things, and it was the time with me being in the on the department and stuff. I wasn't balancing my time, you know. So, but there sometimes you do have to take a step back. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to say no, or maybe next time.
Yeah. And it does bother me to have to say no, because I'm a yes kind of person, you know. So,
but I think you do come to a point in your life where you have to protect your peace.
Yes, and your time.
Yeah, and your time.
And you want to do stuff just to do it. That you just like
that you enjoy.
Flowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to I like to just cook, or I like flowers too, and I'm try to grow stuff in the backyard, but we don't get a lot of sun because we have a lot of trees. So far I haven't had a full success. But even doing that in your just
It's
your free
peaceful.
time.
It's my calm time. Yeah, it's yeah. So treat it like a hobby more so, I guess, instead of making it something that I have that demands me. I just want to be able to do it when I want to do it.
Yeah. So we are here with Alicia Montalvo, owner of Rejuvenate Spa and a Buffalo, New York firefighter and a mother here at Generación con Sin Fronteras on WBFO 88.7 HD3 Radio. Alicia, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And we'll because we're called Generaciones, and we want to make sure that we're engaging, all generations, but also the generations to come. And I believe you. I mean, I know. I see. I mean, you're inspiring me, so I can only imagine,
Thank you.
To engage the next generation. So we'll leave off. What message do you want to share with young Latinas who aspire to break barriers in their careers or start their own businesses?
I will say if it's a dream and if you can think it, you got to believe it and then achieve it. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So just do what makes you feel good and always try your best. That would probably be what I would leave off with. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much
yes,
for
thank you,
joining
Alicia.
us today.
I appreciate
so
you,
nice
ladies.
to meet you.
Thank you so
Mucho
much.
gusto. I'm Sheana VanDyne, the co-host or host. We share responsibilities, right, Dinorah?
Yes.
Of Generaciones con Sin Fronteras 88.7 HD3. And you want to end the show, Dinorah?
Well, just tune in. We are usually on the radio on Saturdays, and then you can find us on all of your major podcasts.
Yep, Saturdays at 10 a.m. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Buenas. Lorenzo Rodriguez here, one of the producers of Sin Fronteras Western New York. And this episode you just heard is going to be our final episode for this year. But before the year is over, we wanted to take just a quick moment to express our sincere gratitude for all the support you've given us throughout the first year of this endeavor here. When we set out to create this program, our goal was to establish a platform for the Hispanic population of Western New York. And now, nearly 5 months later, we couldn't be happier with the reception we've received for this program. We also appreciate all the impactful Latin voices we've been able to showcase on our program this first year, from assembly members to local artists and even Olympians. We couldn't ask for a better lineup of guests for this first year of our young show. We plan to keep the momentum going into 2025 and hope that you'll come along with us for the ride next year. But as always, we look for your feedback, your input. Please remember to reach our show by emailing us at SinFronterasWNY@gmail.com. We're going to be on hiatus until January 11th. During that time, we'll be re-airing some of our favorite episodes from 2024. But once again, on behalf of our Sin Fronteras crew, I want to express our gratitude, our appreciation for being there, for listening to our program. We want to wish you all a very festive holiday season y todo lo mejor en el año nuevo. Mil gracias y nos veremos en el 2025.